Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Hi, this is Rox Berkey, and I am so excited to have with us today an author, a publisher, a speaker, and a mentor, Dr. Judith Briles. Judith, welcome.
Thank you, Rox, and I'm thrilled to be here with you.
This is so much fun, and there's so much to cover in such a short period of time. So I want to get right into it. What I really would like to start on, Judith, is, how did you become an author?
Oh, well, that actually is more than a 30-second bit, but someone ripped me off, and someone took some of my original information that we shared over a dinner, a well-known author in his own right, certainly, and he published it in his nationally syndicated column. I picked up a copy of the Los Angeles Times, and I was just kind of scanning through it. I was working down in Mexico for a week, and all of a sudden I came across his column, and the epiphany hit me, Rox, that said, Judith, if you don't start taking some of your own material, other people will continue to take it. And that's where my first book, which I thought was going to be my only book, came from. No one told me
what was that first
read books. Okay. That first book was called The Woman's Guide to Financial Savvy. So, and that was published by St. Martin's Press, and it did quite well. And then other books started coming along. And then we're right now at print, and I know we'll talk about this later at book number 36. But now I can say half of my books, the first 18 were published by New York publishers, and then book 19 I did the crossover and created my own publishing company and started publishing on my own.
So creating your own publishing company is a big step. And I knew that you had done that. Certainly it had its own pitfalls, I'm sure, even as part of the crossover, didn't it?
The pitfalls was in some cases, the stigma that hangs on if you create your own press. Now, I never called myself a self-publisher. I'm not a self-publisher. I own a small press, an independent press, and I always set it up to be just, the small potatoes in the big river. And this was the year 2000 when I did that, and the crossover happened. Now, what I will say is that, thank God, I had the experience of publishing with New York, because my expectations of whatever I produced had to match the quality that I was used to, because I had been connected with New York for so long, and it has to this day forward, and which is the downfall of so many authors out here today, is they think they can do it at the kitchen table, and by God, that's what it looks like. So,
yeah, no. So Judith, I know that you're perfectionist in a real positive way. But even publishing today out of New York or some of the big publishers is not the same as when you did it.
No.
Is it?
No. Oh, no, Rox, I was a kept author. I was really well taken care of. I mean, I had escorts when I went to any place, when I was on tour. I had my editors took me underneath their wing and really nurtured me and took care of me. From the moment I signed with them until the book was published, and then there was that connection post. It just is not that way today. The whole publishing scene has dramatically changed. That, in my opinion, unless New York offers you so much frickin' money, I think people are nuts to go down that road. That you can learn so much on your own. I know certainly under the umbrella of the Texas Authors Organization. I know under the umbrella of our Author U organization, and what I do as the Book Shepherd, that you can get really good coaching to not only fast forward you, but literally propel you into creating something that is far more competitive. Now, whether you listen to the lessons that are offered and the mentoring that people like, which is a whole other animal. It's a whole other animal, because sometimes people get bananas in their ears. But that to listening and observing and interacting and networking with what works and certainly what doesn't work, that's where the real gravy comes from. And it's so available today, and that people don't take advantage of it, which is kind of cuckoo to me.
I know from having spoken with you before that you are very much into making sure that people put their best foot forward. Is that part of why you started mentoring other people to kind of help them over some of these humps?
I did. Well, I actually started mentoring as soon as I signed with New York, and now we're going back to 1979. April of 1979 is when I started writing my book. It was sold in December of 1979. In fact, I have a blog coming out here in another couple of weeks of just kind of the 10 things authors love to hear, and my number 10 was The Call. The Call. December 2nd. At like 9:05 in the morning, and on the line was my agent, and all it came out is, we've got a book, and I'll never forget that. So we all have those places where we remember those areas, but I used to sit down with authors who wanted to write a book, and of course, being a recovered book snob, and feeling that only legitimate books came out of New York, which is nonsense today anyway, that I would sit down with people and say, so if this is what you want to do, let me show you what steps you need to go through. And I started doing that, in the very early 80s. With anybody who wanted help, I reached out and helped. And it was really in 2006 that I made the decision to walk away from a very lucrative, on-the-road, more than half the year speaking business, and really sit down and show authors, this is what you can do and this is how to do it. And I went, I created the Book Shepherd and went full-time into it.
So, Judith, by creating the Book Shepherd, that opened up a whole, I don't know, kind of a different touch point for you to nurture new authors and help them develop their skills in a real no-nonsense way. I mean, they don't have to choose the directions that you provide.
And some don't. No, they don't. But there are certain methods that will work, and it always starts with quality. I want to see quality covers, and I want to see a layout that is easy on the eyeballs and yet has a little bit of pop and pizzazz to it. The last thing I personally want to see, and none of my clients are allowed to have, is a book that is line after line after line after line after line after line of text. There's got to be some other goodies to juice it up in there. And it's interesting to see New York. Some of the books I'm seeing out of New York now are starting to pepper up even fiction instead of the line after line after line. And it's so easy to do on that, but that's when you can, get in and you learn how to do it. For me, let me just kind of go back, and I know we have a break coming up here soon, but that for me, there's 4 reasons why you need to look at which way you go in publishing. And my big 4 are control. It is really important for me to have eyeball approval of what those covers look like. It's really important for me to have some input on how that book's going to be laid out and the visuals on it. And it's really important for me on how that back cover reads and looks. So control is really important. And then just, the quality, that it doesn't have to look like it's done on somebody's template that's been used 12,000 times. There can be some juice to it. So I want the cover The cover just screams out, "Pick me up and look me over." And so that comes in place. And then there's the timing issue, and that's really the first question I always ask clients, potential clients who come in, I have come in contact, is when I ask, when do you want to have a book available? And if they say, well, it really doesn't matter, well, then I'm going to encourage you. You know, if New York is your goal, for heaven's sakes, let's look at that option. But you better, that's your plan A, but you better jolly well have plan B rolling along. And plan B is going to be, I'm going to do it myself. And you parallel, those run parallel, because it could be a long time before your book ever gets picked up. And at some point you may decide, no, I'm not going to wait any longer. But if you tell me you want my book in my hands, your book in your hands, within 18 months, then you're not going New York. Because that's pretty much what it's going to be. And then the last thing is about money. And so those four things of quality, of control, of timing, and then money, that if you learn how to sell your books and understanding that the typical New York mid-list type of book, which is what most of our listeners are going to be in Texas in their writing, they're not going to be a David Baldacci or, you know, some of the huge sellers, although there's no reason why you can't aspire to that. But this is where you're probably going to start. So your book, if it's picked up by New York, its sale will be probably lifetime, maybe 5,000 copies, of which 3,500 will happen the first year. That's a nonfiction book. Fiction is less. So you're talking about making $3,000 to $3,500 max. Is that going to be good enough for you? And I think a lot of authors have these stars in their eyes. They think that, you know, that all this money is going to pour in, fame and fortune is going to pour in, the press is going to beat down your door, buyers are going to, you know, chase you down the street. Get over that one.
Well, and today you've got so much more competition, Judith, with everyone feeling like they can get a book out, and there's lots of small press, and there is lots of independent publishing. So the options are there to increase the competition. So differentiating becomes very important.
It's essential. It is really essential. But also, I don't care really how. I mean, the fact that 3 million books get published every year, I'm oblivious to it because most of them are crap. Most of them are crap. They're not competition. They're just screaming for space. What you have to do is figure, okay, how do I rise above the crap? How do I rise above it and move on so I can find my tribe and my market? That's what I'm about. And in fact, when I come to Texas, it's toward the end of July later this year, that's exactly what we're going to be working on. How do you become that ninja marketer for your book?
And on that note, Judith, we're going to take a short break and listen to our sponsors, and we're going to come back and delve into that a little bit more. Stay tuned.
In their 2017 award-winning techno-thriller series, Brakefield and Berkey take you on an engaging journey as cyber good guys duel against cyber assassins using technology, today's weapon of choice. Whether your cyber threat is fighting for your lost identity, struggling with a mutant computer virus, or being outmaneuvered by a digitally enhanced gaming avatar, you will enjoy this book series individually and collectively. EnigmaSeries.com will take you through a doorway into the digital combat of the 21st century.
Gatekeeper Press is a full-service publishing house and distribution aggregator that prides itself on offering the highest quality self-publishing services in the industry. Gatekeeper authors earn 100% of their proceeds, retain 100% of their rights, and work one-on-one with their own author manager who delivers a 100% author-centric hand-holding experience. In addition to working with individual authors, Gatekeeper Press works behind the scenes for publishers of all sizes, and due to its efficiency and quality, also white labels its service to other self-publishing companies. Gatekeepers Press' mission is to open the gates of the book publishing world by offering the highest quality services at affordable prices. To learn more or to read some of the testimonials, go to gatekeeperpress.com.
Love to read? Love to meet authors in person? Then check out bookfestival.network to find a book festival in your region of Texas. We are adding book festival events throughout the year, so sign up to get notices and even a coupon towards purchase of a Texas author's book. Sign up at bookfestival.network. Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Randy James, independent voiceover producer in the Dallas, Texas area, available to write and record a 30-second commercial, much like the one you're hearing right now. It's a great way to help increase awareness and exposure to your book title. It's easy to do. Simply call me and we'll brainstorm on a few ideas, and in a few hours, I'll whip something up and send you a digital file ready to use. Remember, call or text me, Randy James, at 214-762-1942. Texas Authors is proud to be a supporter of IndieBeacon.com, a website that supports indie authors from around the world. If you are looking for help with marketing or getting published, IndieBeacon.com can assist you. Years of experience by the founder is available to any indie author looking for help. IndieBeacon.com, a place for creative souls to find help in marketing their creations.
After his mother is murdered, teenager Scott Harold with feisty new girlfriend Jessie uncover an illegitimate past that leads them to the Oval Office. Will they reach the president before the killer gets to them? Identity Check, a thriller by author Rich Allen, available in print or Kindle at Amazon.com. With only 2 golden rings, 10 days worth of supplies, and the guidance of an old redwood tree, Toby and Cameron Hunter begin the journey of a lifetime. Get your copy of The Guardian by L.M. Nelson, available as a paperback or an ebook at your favorite bookstore now.
Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Hi, this is Rox Berkey, and we're back with Dr. Judith Briles, author, publisher, mentor, speaker. So welcome back, Judith.
Hi, my pleasure. Still here.
So in this portion, I really want to talk a little bit more about the speaking, and you had mentioned it in the first segment. And so how did you get into the speaking?
Oh, that happened back in the 70s, literally, and I was a stockbroker at the time, and there was a group of women. I lived in a city called Palo Alto, and I was a stockbroker with E.F. Hutton and Company, and there was a group of women in what's known as the East Bay. So that's Berkeley, Oakland, etc. And they wanted to have someone come speak to them about investing. Now, someone else had already been engaged, but it turned out, I want you to remember I said the 70s, Rox.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And another person was supposed to come out, another woman who was in banking or something. And her husband wouldn't let her go because it was nighttime.
Oh, there you go.
And I said, what? Anyway, so I went across the bay and did I did more mistakes wrong in speaking. But what I did know, and I kept them engaged all the time, I had a lot of information, a lot of things to say, and I knew a lot. And I went to the local community college, and I approached them about doing a course, an all-day course called Women and Money. Sold out all the time. From that's where my first book came from.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know that you've had many speaking engagements since then. In fact, I know you have one that's coming up. Yeah, July 27th. You're actually going to come to Irving, Texas, where it's going to be a little bit warmer than the snow that you're in today. And you're going to be at Texas Author Marketing event, right?
It is. So I am looking forward to doing not just an hour. We're doing several hours on advanced marketing strategies to really get people rocking and rolling on how they can do it. So it's my ninja marketing program that I love to do. I love having fun with just that kind of thing and sharing what I know, what I've learned, what I keep learning, I think one of the things that successful authors have got to get grilled into their noggins, literally, is that this is a lifelong learning situation. It's just lifelong learning. That's what we do, and it's never ending because when you stop learning and you stop marketing is when you stop selling books. And a lot of people just don't realize that, that can be the deal breaker for them.
Mm-hmm. And I know, Judith, one of the things that you pair together excellently is the speaking and the book selling. And so was that your initial plan, or is that something that just opened itself up to you?
That's an interesting thought, that when I started speaking, I didn't have a book. So you have to remember that.
Right.
That
Okay.
I had nothing. I just had my mouth, my words, and then started sharing it. And it was when Art Bookwald, author, filmmaker, columnist, took my ideas and published them. And it was then, that was the epiphany that dropped in, that I needed to really take a close look at, what I'm doing and who I give things so freely to, because I'm very generous in that area and sharing ideas. And so what I did then was take that and then started really, really running with it, and realized that from there, the book, The Woman's Guide to Financial Savvy, evolved, which is because I was in the financial field at that time. Then Money Phases, the 6 financial stages of a woman's life came, and then they just start dominoing. And then I had an abrupt change in my career, in my writing, when I went through an embezzlement and from a partner, and I ended up literally broke. I was homeless. I lost everything, and I lost over $1 million. From that, I then, you have to survive. You resurrect. What do you know? And the thing that she had stolen the money from, my partner, I went back to school, and then turned out to be, I took that down, and my dissertation for my doctorate became a bestseller, Woman to Woman from Sabotage to Support, which looked at how women undermined other women. And that was the pioneering book, and that took me from everywhere, from Oprah to the Wall Street Journal to the National Enquirer to 4 pages in People magazine, all over Timbuktu. And from that experience, I learned how to market myself, really market myself, because before people were always doing it for me. Now I took control, and I really, people, how'd you get on Oprah? I pitched it. How'd you get in People magazine? I pitched it. How did you, blah, blah, blah. It was always, I was behind the scenes. And that really took a whole new a microscope to this thing called marketing and what authors need to do. So I always say, you've got to have the Goit factor. If you're going to be successful, you've got to get off your touch, and you really move it forward in getting there. So what we're going to be doing when we're in the fabulous state of Texas in July is I'm going to show them how to create a game plan for their marketing, how to ride the draft on your competitors, how to tap into the newsjacking capability, why QVC and Shark Tank is so important for authors to really drop in and pay attention to those kind of things, why it's really hot to be a contrarian, always hot to be a contrarian. It will propel media like crazy. And even we're going to show people how to resurrect a book that's gone limp. So a lot's going on.
Well, and that's how you keep things so spicy like you do. Your snap, crackle, make stuff fizz is really a renowned trait. You're also a huge advocate for author rights, aren't you, Judith?
Yeah, huge. Yeah, I'm glad to take on people who are just A1 jerks, and that I hate it. I hate it when you see authors who get ripped off. It's shocking to me that that naivete that is so blatant or just too many, and they get taken. They get taken for a ride multiple times, and that needs to stop. That just needs to stop. So authors have got to take responsibility for not getting taken advantage of and just plain old taken. So they need to understand that this thing called publishing is a first-rate business. And the thing that I learned, which I'm going to loop back to your opening question on this segment, is I learned that speaking was the number one way to sell books, the number one way to sell books. And when I was in front of an audience, they just wanted to take me home. Well, Bookmark's not going to do it. You know, maybe a tease in the beginning, an add-on, and you could have a little flyer. But when you have a book, they are taking your words, your thoughts, your expertise, your ideas, your crazy storytelling, whatever it is, solutions. And I say all the time, Rox, that it's not problems that make the world. It's not money that makes the world go round. It's problems. And for fiction writers, you are problem solvers. You're bringing entertainment. It could be spooky. It could be scary. It could be fill in the blank. And for us nonfiction, I'm a nonfiction author myself, but I work with both fiction and nonfiction. For me, I'm going to identify problems, and I'm going to give you solutions of how to resolve them and move forward.
And, Judith, you will never do it without a huge amount of passion and enthusiasm, even if you're making a point that something needs to change. So toward that, you have a new book that you're releasing soon. Can you share a little bit about that?
I do. So that kind of hooks into what I just said. And everyone, you can pre-order it right now on Amazon. It'll be out at the end of this month, which is April. And it's called How to Create a $1 Million Speech. And that's 1,000,000. It's How to Create a $1 Million Speech. And that I can't tell you how many people have looked at it saying, you're really going to reveal all that through the ultimate in marketing campaigns to nab and nail down and book a speech? Absolutely. You know, I take you all through how to do it, from including what you are essentials for your website, how to contact these meeting planners, what do you say to meeting planners, how do you pitch yourself. All of that's in the book.
Oh, I think that's awesome. And having seen a little bit of a preview of some of that content, I consider it well worth the investment for everyone, especially if you can get on the pre-order. So I know that you're going to come into Texas in July 27th. I will be there and look forward to seeing you. Where else are you going to be, or what other events do you have that are coming up that folks can give a listen to or see you or both?
Well, there's a couple of things going on. On May 9th, I am doing a webinar for Texans to actually give them a preview of what's going to be happening in July. So they do want to check back to the TexasAuthors.com website to really look at when that pops up so they can get pre-registered, because there are limited seats for it. But it'll be an hour webinar. Okay. And I always will bring, it's what's hot. What's hot in marketing and moving your book. So I'll be jumping into that. And then I have, and I do this every year, my Judith Briles Book Publishing Unplugged. So if an hour is not enough, if 4 hours are not enough in July, you know what? Why don't you just all think about coming to Colorado, which is my home base. And in June, every June, I do the Judith Briles Book Publishing Unplugged Boot Camp. And it's intensive. It's 3 days with me. One of those days is spent totally on gizmos and gadgets and tools for authors. All kinds of things that you can use. All right. The others that we have to really get into, like I'm going to be really digging into the Amazon marketing ads and how to use them and manipulate them and do those things. And that'll be an add-on. And I'll be doing some other things. But that's going to be, that's a Thursday through Saturday, and that's June 21st through the 23rd. And all you have to do is go on my personal website, which is thebookshepherd.com, and you do need to spell shepherd right. That's SHEPHERD. So thebookshepherd.com. Just click on events and all the details there. It's in early bird right now, so this is the way you save money, and that there's always snacks and then a full lunch on each day. Oh. And if you're flying in or driving, we're only 6 hours from Dallas. 12 hours from Dallas. I do know that.
Very exciting.
People drive up.
And unfortunately, we're out of time, but I look forward to seeing you. And folks, take a look at that website. Judith, thank you.
Thank you, Rox.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website at indiebeacon.com.